Hi guys, welcome back to another build video. Hope you enjoyed the clips earlier on. I'm coming at you today with a Templar build video. This is more of a Magicka based Templar in comparison to the earlier build that I posted a couple of weeks ago, which was a stamina based Templar. And this is sort of an update to a build that I posted about 3 years ago called the SUNPIERCE Paladin, which at the time was using Stoon's Favour on the front bar and Winter's Respite on the back bar. But we've changed the sets, but this has essentially been an evolution of the same theme when it comes to Magicka Templar, which is having the ability to hold your ground and survive multiple opponents with tankiness and group support, and then also being able to switch that around on a dime and go on the offensive and put out incredible offensive pressure. Yeah, it's a blast to play. It's very, very strong in the new battleground modes, in particular the 4v4, because of the amount of healing that you can put out and the amount of targeted damage that you can put out, especially with your Radiant Destruction on selected targets. You can really dominate that game mode very well, and Templar just has so much group support built into it as well. So yeah, fantastic class to play. I highly recommend it. We'll start off just by going through the character sheet. So we are running at about 35.6k max health and about 18.6k max magicka on the front bar, with 4k spell damage unbuffed and about 9k spell pen unbuffed as well. We are running this on a Breton. You can also run any magicka based race. High Elf works, Dark Elf, Khajiit even works as well. Breton is my preference because we're using a lot of magicka skills, and having the magicka sustain is very useful, and it also lends some additional tankiness as well from the spell resistance passive. We've got all of our points into health. We are running the Thief Mundus Stone and the Smoked Bear Haunch food. Quickly moving on to the sets. So on the front bar we are running the Oakfather's Retribution set with a lightning staff on the front bar, sharpened with a poison damage enchant. Oakfather's is the strongest offensive set that's not a proc set in the game. It outperforms Shattered Fate, it outperforms Stoon's Favour. It's just ridiculously strong. Definitely run this if you're not running a proc set, if you want to focus on damage. The only downside is it doesn't buff your healing, but we've got most of our heals on our back bar anyway. So 2, 3, 4 weapon damage, and then 5 piece we gain pen and weapon damage against enemies depending on how many major and minor buffs they have. This averages out to approximately 5k pen on most targets at least, with a good bit of weapon damage as well. So yeah, highly recommend this on the front bar. On the back bar we are running Rallying Cry as a sword and shield, defending sword and a Rallying Cry reinforced or sturdy shield. Rallying Cry is the strongest overall support set in the game, incredibly powerful defensive set on a magicka build, and Templar can activate this extremely easily on the back bar by casting lots of AoE healing abilities that very quickly proc the critical heal required to get the crit resist and the weapon damage from this set. Then for our monster set we are running 2 pieces of the Magma Incarnate set. This is a really nice set. It gives us good sustain on the 1 piece, and then on the 2 piece, whenever we heal ourselves or a group member with a single target heal ability, we grant them Minor Courage and Minor Resolve, and then this effect bounces around up to 3 times and affects everybody else in the group as well. Minor Resolve's a very good buff, obviously. Most people get it from Vigor, but we aren't running a Vigor on this build, so it's nice to be able to source that. And then Minor Courage is just an excellent amount of extra weapon and spell damage, which every build can appreciate. So yeah, Magma Incarnate, very strong set, and I would highly recommend running this on any Templar build that can't find the bar space to run Resolving Vigor. Then to round it out, we are running 1 piece Trainee, and as our mythic we are running the Marken Ring of Majesty. This is a very important set for Templar in particular, because we get both major and minor sorcery. The 200 weapon and spell damage goes a long way, and the extra armor is also really appreciated. Because we're running 2 light sets, we have to run at least 4 light pieces on the body, along with our 3 heavy pieces, which means that the extra armor is very welcome, and means that when we are on our back bar, with our rune up, we are sitting at 30k, 31k spell resist and 25.7k physical resist, and that's without the 3k extra resists from minor resolve, which will activate in combat. So we are sitting above the spell resistance cap and at the physical resistance cap before we get penetrated. That sounded a bit wrong, didn't it? Oh well, let's carry on. Okay, so going into our skills, on the back bar we are running Living Dark. This is a really powerful defensive skill. It's only got a 12-second uptime, so you do have to cast it fairly frequently, but essentially what it does is every time you're hit with any direct damage, you get a 2.1k heal, which can happen every half a second. This can be incredible for your survivability, not only in a 1v1, but also if you are fighting outnumbered as well. It lets you make line of sight if you need to, and try and keep this up at all times whenever you're being pressured. Race Against Time is our mobility tool and our source of minor force. We've got a decent crit rate on this build, so with our minor, what's called the major savagery up, we are sitting at 36% spell critical, which is over a third of our abilities will be crits. So yeah, highly recommend doing that. We also sit at 5.2k spell damage and a lot of penetration as well, which obviously is incredibly useful against targets to get the damage through to them. So Race Against Time, the minor force comes in handy. Extended Ritual is a really powerful ability that cleanses us of 5 negative effects, and it also does a pretty powerful dot heal over time for everybody in a huge area, and allies can cast the Purify synergy to cleanse themselves of all negative effects as well. Very useful. Honor the Dead is our main burst heal ability. It's got a nice juicy tooltip, and it also helps with our Magicka sustain, because if we use this to heal anyone who's under 75% health, we get a fair chunk of the cost of the ability back. And this ends up being quite strong, especially against low health targets, because it gets buffed by up to 12% depending on how much health the target is missing. So yeah, very handy. Channel Focus is our source of Magicka sustain. It's our source of major armor buffs. It also gives us a decent heal if you can stay on it as well. Every second we're healing for 3.4k crit heals, not too shabby. If you move off the rune, then the heal does drop. So try and keep this up at all times. And if you're having a stationary fight, try and stand on the rune as well. And then on the back bar, you've got 2 different ultimates here. You can run Practiced Incantation if you are in a battleground. This is very powerful because it gives out a big burst of healing. You get really high medal score as well because of all the crit heals that you'll be getting. And it's really nice at keeping your team alive on an objective, or if you want to counter the enemy team's coordinated push. If you're in Cyrodiil, I would recommend Spell Wall instead. This is very effective, especially if you're fighting outnumbered. It lets you position yourself around the battlefield really easily. It lets you turn and burn against enemy Nightblades and enemy Sorks without worrying about Merciless Resolve or Crystal Frag procs for a good 7 seconds. So highly recommend that in Cyrodiil, because as you probably know, 60% of the enemies that you'll face will be either a Sork or a Nightblade. So yeah, very good ability. On the front bar, we are running Ice Comet as our main ultimate. This combines with our Piercing Javelin, our Aurora Javelin, to become an undodgeable, unblockable burst, which we can then combine with our Power of the Light, as well as with our Radiant Glory to take out most targets. Speaking of Power of the Light, this gives us Minor Breach with the Sundered status effect. It is a nice burst of damage at the beginning and a nice burst of damage at the end. Try to keep this up on one target at all times. It's also very nice in battlegrounds, especially if you like to do the solo queue like I do, where you're not on voice comms with your teammates, but what you might want to do is highlight a particular target. So Power of the Light, because you can only have one active at a time, it's very useful at being able to highlight the target that you're going after, and it can help direct your teammates' attention to that target as well. So try and keep that up if you can. Elemental Susceptibility is, as always, our source of Major Breach. It's just too good not to use. And then we're using Magical Soul as our spammable. So we're using the magic damage affix. You can also probably run the flame damage affix if you really want to. The That's new in this update, and you might get some extra damage against some vampires. However, you might also lose damage against some dark elves, so it's up to you. But essentially, we're combining that with the class mastery script, which gives us the extra weapon and spell damage and extra armor. If you're standing in one of your restoring light abilities, namely your extended ritual or your channeled focus, you'll activate the sacred ground passive. And what the class passive for Templar is that if you're standing within these circles, you effectively get a second Mark and Ring of Majesty effect. You get about 225 weapon and spell damage and about 2k armor while you're for 5 seconds every time you cast your spammable. So that's incredibly useful. If you imagine your main spammable gives you the effect of a mythic as a side effect, and then also we are running the Major Defile signature or affix script, which reduces healing taken on our target. Again, this is very nice. It effectively increases all the damage that you're doing by 12% because your opponent won't be able to heal as effectively against you. So yeah, very, very good spammable. I'd recommend this over something like Force Pulse. And then Aurora Javelin, unblockable knockback, very good. Very nice at being able to control the battlefield, get some edge kills occasionally, and also combine with our Meteor to do incredible burst. And then Radiant Glory is our Templar classic, Jesus Beam. We use this against any target that's below 40% health. And again, similar to Power of the Light, if you're in an uncoordinated group and you manage to get somebody below 50% health and you start lighting them up with Radiant Glory, it then encourages your teammates to target the enemy as well. So it's a bit of a meme, but don't be shy using this against targets as soon as they go below 50% health, because it does ramp up very quickly, especially if your Power of the Light is about to burst on them as well. It's cheesy, but it's effective, and Templar lacks for damage, so take it where you can get it. There is a slightly alternative setup if you want to play more in melee. This works very well in BGs. What you can do is you can swap Aurora Javelin for Toppling Charge, which has recently been buffed. It now gives major protection for 7 seconds after casting it, which is excellent. You can swap your Magical Soul Spammable for Puncturing Sweeps, and you can swap your Ice Comet for Crescent Sweep. And this turns this build into a very effective melee Magicka Templar as well. Personally, I am preferring the ranged Templar a bit at the moment. It just feels much more solid, but the melee Templar can be very effective as well, and it definitely has much better AoE and sort of cleave damage, so it's really up to personal preference. I think the melee Templar might work quite well in BGs, but the ranged Templar I think is more effective in Cyrodiil and open world. We're missing our major sorcery and savagery buff, so we source them from our potion. We're running the Essence of Spell Power, which gives us the spell and spell damage, spell crit and spell damage. And then also Essence of Detection with Major Sorcery. So even when we're trying to detect Nightblades, we do at least have our Major Sorcery buff up at all times. Okay, moving on to champion points. We are running in the blue tree Master at Arms, Deadly Aim, Ironclad, and Untamed Aggression. If you are running the melee version with Toppling Charge, run Exploiter instead of Deadly Aim. And then in the red tree, we are running Sustained by Suffering, Pain's Refuge, Survival Instincts, and Celerity. Okay, that's the build. It's nothing particularly special. We're just running the best sets in the game. Really, Oak Feathers and Rallying Cry, you can't go wrong with them on almost any build. But the Magma Incarnate and the Mark and Ring, I think, round out the build very, very effectively. I'm going to go back to trying out the format that I used to do back in my longer build commentaries back in 2020, 2021, where I sort of talk over some gameplay. So I've got a Cyrodiil clip and also a new Battlegrounds clip where I can show you the build in action. So I hope you stick around and you can see some of my insights while I talk over some gameplay. If you liked the build, if you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe, and thanks for watching. I'll catch you in the next build video.